Welcome to Studio 58A live here inside the studios of JIS, that's the Jamaica Information Service, our discussion program coming to you this Thursday. So, hi, I'm Vanessa Silvera and I'm your host, standing in for Vaughn today. And my guest is Miss Gillian Corrodus. She is the Divisional Director of Industrial Relations and Allied Services in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Ms. Corrodus, did I get that right?
Yes, you did, Vanessa. It's quite a mouthful. And I oftentimes laugh because it's such a long-winded title. But yes, Industrial Relations and Allied Services. And it's certainly my pleasure to be here on behalf of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security and also the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, because we work together on this initiative of Workers' Week.
Welcome. Now, wherever you are in the world, viewers, remember, thanks for joining us, and you must share, comment, like, vibes up the thing so that this can be a lively discussion. All right, I'm not sure if you are hearing me.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. So I'm not sure if you started. I asked about how Workers' Week got started.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. And the Ministry of Labor and Social Security and the MCGES is very happy this year to have Workers' Week celebrations. And the Workers' Week celebrations are very symbolic because workers are part of our labor force, and they are a vital part of the growth and development of any country. So as we look at the effects, disastrous effects of, I would call it, of the COVID-19, we will have to recover, and we can only recover through the energy of our workforce. Now, Workers' Week began many years ago, and it began out of the riots that started where workers were uncomfortable, dissatisfied, and took to the streets, and perhaps not in a very orderly manner, had riots on their employers. And
I've never seen an orderly riot.
You know, these days I talk about peaceful protests.
Yes.
At all. And they were clamoring for better working conditions, conditions of work in terms of hours of work, their wages, the basic amenities that they were given in terms of even the comfort within their spaces of work. And they were very concerned about the fact that there were no laws that prohibited the mistreatment, the discrimination, and all of that were facing themselves as workers. And we will remember that in 1938, it really got to a head. And we have a lot of memory of the Frome riots in the sugar industry, where workers marched down to the police station seeking redress, but many of them were shot and killed. And we also remember on the waterfront in downtown Kingston, the Kingston waterfront, that the port workers themselves also had their own riots. And today we have two monuments that we call the Workers' Monument. There's one in Frome, in Westmoreland, and there's also one in Kingston, that is the downtown Kingston waterfront, and that commemorates the plight of the workers. And the one in downtown Kingston, interestingly, is named the Aggie Bernard Monument. And I'm sure you want to ask me why.
Certainly. Who was this Aggie Bernard?
If you look in my background, Vanessa, you see women, and you might see even a sculpture of a woman. And it's very important because this one woman, she thought that the plight of workers was so important that even though she was not personally affected, she was a laundress that did work for the port. She thought that the gentlemen had such an important message to communicate in these riots that she decided that every day that they were rioting, she would personally use her resources to fund the meals for these gentlemen as they were rioting, as they were demonstrating on the waterfront for better terms and conditions of their employment. So therefore, that is the reason why we have that monument named the Aggie Bernard Monument, because she, in her own little way, contributed to furthering the cause of the workers on the waterfront in the Kingston ports.
It's been a long time since 1938, and I would venture to say that Jamaica has come a far way since the workers' riots. We've moved from workers' uprisings to trade unions. How did we get here?
Yes, so I would say that even before the workers' riots in 1938, we had trade unions, but they were not as organized as the trade unions that we have today. And you're very correct. We have moved from this adversarial style of settling disputes to a more accommodating social dialogue, we call it. And that has been led by our trade union movement. And I want to recognize the trade union movement, in particular, the member unions that are part of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, because they are a partner with us in Workers' Week. And so too, I want to recognize the employers that have facilitated this kind of dialogue to work out industrial disputes. And at this time, also recognize the Jamaica Employers Federation that is part of the tripartite and has helped us to get to this place, Vanessa.
All right. Now let's move into productivity and the importance of productivity. Why is it that we need to celebrate the foundation, which is the Jamaican worker? We have a whole week every year.
Now, you said we have a whole week in the year called Workers' Week. And this year, the theme is safeguarding the labor force amid COVID-19. The word safeguarding suggests that there is something that is not right, something that is affecting the workers or labor force. And the labor force is a critical ingredient for the country, or any country, as a matter of fact, to recover from the deleterious effects of COVID-19. Now, when we look at the COVID-19, we recognize that there's a threat to public health. We recognize that COVID-19 has also presented a threat to the way that we work. And workers have been extremely flexible. And we recognize that many workers have been working flexible hours. We recognize that workers have even agreed with their employers for temporary cuts in their salary just to be able to retain jobs, although we still recognize that the original contract will exist. But productivity requires sacrifices on both the part of the worker and the employer. And this year, we're recognizing the sacrifices that both the employer and the workers will have to make in order for Jamaica to recover from the negative impact of COVID-19. We also recognize for productivity, it requires flexibility. But in this flexibility, we must safeguard workers and the labor force in two key ways. One, we must safeguard workers in respect of their health, safety and health in the workplace. We must safeguard our labor force in terms of providing that opportunity for an income, providing that opportunity to retain employment, provide that opportunity for skilling and upskilling, reskilling. With COVID-19, we have seen that many jobs would have changed, business processes have changed, and we have to work together, particularly with workers, in order to ensure that Jamaica comes out ahead as we all look to economic recovery.
Now, what would you say to the worker who would posit that their labor rights have been in shambles from before COVID-19? And I make reference to issues like the operational safety and health issues that they've been having and they've been voicing. What would you say to that worker who does not feel represented and doesn't feel as if, boy, you know, Jamaica values me as a laborer and a productive contributor to national development?
All right, I'll take you back a little bit, Vanessa, that out of these riots and uprisings, as you have correctly called it, the research done by Moyne, and we will know of the Moyne Commission, suggested that there is need for legislation and there is need for labor administration. So the Ministry of Labor and Social Security was established as a result of these riots and the recommendation that came from the Moyne Commission. And today, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is still intact, and we provide for securing the rights of workers and employers alike. And how do we do this? We do this by a set of labor laws. And we maintain that all workers and employers are to be guided by these labor laws. And this is part of safeguarding this labor force. Now, as workers, they may wonder what is happening in terms of the health and safety guidelines. We still have a Factories Act. We know we are working on the occupational safety and health legislation. And yes, I understand that workers are concerned, employers are concerned, and I want to say that we are quite advanced in that legislation. We expect that the legislation will be one that becomes our reality in the near future. I wouldn't want to give a date though, certainly.
All right. If you've just joined us, welcome to Studio 58A Live here on Facebook. My name is Vanessa Silvera, and I'm speaking with Ms. Gillian Corrodus. Ms. Corrodus, let's go again. She is the Divisional Director of Industrial Relations and Allied Services in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. I get it right this time?
Yes, certainly. Yes, you did.
All right, let's take some of the comments. People have been hailing us on Facebook. We have, all right, so we have hails. It's a strange word. We have comments from Raquel Wright, Nikki Bailey, Paulette Anderson, Shamara Sunshine Robinson, hello, and Jacqueline Neal. Remember, if you have questions, please put them in the comment section and we will be sure to put them to Ms. Corrodus. We're talking about Workers' Week and be touching a little bit on Labor Day a little later on. Ms. Corrodus, there are activities to observe Workers' Week. Tell us about them.
Yes, so Workers' Week is a whole week. And if you want to remember when it's Workers' Week, it's the week that comes immediately before Labor Day and ends on Labor Day. So this year it's from the 16th of May and it goes straight to the 24th of May. Why? Because Labor Day this year will be celebrated on the 24th of May. So what are the activities? We will start with a bang. On Sunday, the 16th, we will have a supplement in our newspaper, and our most honorable Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, the ministers of Labor and Social Security, as well as Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, the Jamaica Employees Federation, and the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions will have their messages published on the 16th. So make sure that everybody has their newspaper to get this supplement. It will be quite informative, I promise. And we move straight into Monday. And on Monday, we will also have another feature. And our theme this year is safeguarding the labor force amid COVID-19. And we're going to be having features on, as you asked, occupational safety and health. We'll also be having features on labor relations. And I know a lot of questions have been asked of the ministry, and we hope to answer many of these questions in some of these publications. So we will have these publications on the 17th. We'll have another one on the 19th and also the 23rd. So what would have normally been Labor Day, the 23rd, we will have another publication as well. And we have always had a ceremonial wreath laying. This year, we're not going to be all gathered because, you know, we have to do it safely. We're in our mask. We're also sanitizing and physical distancing. The public will be encouraged to tune into this wreath laying ceremony, which will be held on Tuesday, and that is May 18th. And that will be limited in terms of the number of persons. So unfortunately, persons will not be able to physically gather with us, but they will be part of that media presence as the wreaths are laid at the Aggie Barnard Monument. And we just spoke about Aggie Barnard and the importance of that monument as a workers' monument, reflecting on the plight of those port workers in Kingston, Jamaica. On the 19th, we're going to be having a very, very interesting webinar. It's part of our Labor Talks series. And what is the theme? We're going to be focusing in this webinar on advancing flexible work arrangements. Flexible work arrangements is the order of the day. And as we have been working flexibly for almost a year and a couple of months, right, Vanessa?
Yes, it has been over a year.
We have had many good practices that we have learned, and we've had many challenges. So this webinar is going to be focusing on how do we get it right in terms of advancing flexible work arrangements and being a regional leader as Jamaica encourages persons to work remotely. We want to not just work remotely, but do so in a way that positions Jamaica as a regional leader in remote work.
Before you continue on to Labor Day activities, you raised an interesting point, advancing flexible work arrangements. Now, the Prime Minister has made several calls for continued work from home where possible, but there are still entities which are not flexible enough, or they say, well, you know, we're not flexible enough to allow our workers. And in many cases, that is true. However, there are others who just want to see their workers, because according to many employers, and this is true, or this is said to be true, if I'm not seeing you, you are not doing anything. What is the ministry doing to ensure that these workers are able to contribute remotely as well as in office? Because we're not saying we shouldn't have them in office. We're saying flexibility is the order of the day because it's COVID-19.
Yes, and certainly, Vanessa, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security encourages every worker and every employer to recognize that this new norm requires a flexible approach and flexible work arrangements. So the definition of the workplace has been redefined for us, and it has a place of work. Therefore, what we need to recognize is that the way that we manage organizations has to change. The way that we supervise workers has to change. And the Ministry of Labour and Social Security has been through its Labor Talk series, even before the COVID-19 pandemic, speaking about the future of work and the requirements for us to recognize the different ways of managing our resources, our labor force, or workers, and that workers themselves need to become more flexible. So therefore, the culture of I need to see you in the is one that is challenged by the new norm. Right. And I doubt that we'll be returning to this kind of I need to see you. And therefore, we need to recognize that the strategies to work remotely need to be employed. The equipment to allow us to work remotely needs to be in place. The structure in terms of how do we relate to our clientele needs to be revised. How do we collect our resources online? The monetary arrangements to make flexible work arrangements work needs to also be re-examined.
And so that's why we are encouraging every single employer and employee, especially those who might not feel as if you are being treated fairly, to come to this labor talk, this industrial relations webinar, and join a union, right? Good. No.
Come to the Ministry of Labor and Social Security's labor talks. We will be answering all the questions relating to remote work, generally flexible work arrangements, and your understanding of the labor laws as we go into flexible work arrangements. And certainly you are invited to come to the Ministry of Labor's website, where we have many questions, frequently asked questions and answers, as we recognize that as persons maneuver through this COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges, there are many questions that you will have. And the Ministry of Labor has been providing answers to these questions through our website. And we also have adopted social media. So we have WhatsApp numbers as well as our Facebook and other social media presence.
All right. As you mentioned WhatsApp, and we're going to continue the activities, but as you mentioned WhatsApp and contact information for the ministry, if you have labor questions, then you can call the ministry. And if you have Labor Day questions, you can call 876, that's the Labor Day Secretariat, 876-398-4880 or 876-301-4931. Ms. Corrodus, do you have a contact number specific for labor relations?
Yes, certainly. We are all across the island in our offices. We have physical offices, but 876-922-9500 and goes up to 14 is the main numbers that you will get the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. But I would encourage persons with the use of our online services to log on to our website, and you will see all the WhatsApp numbers, because we have quite a number of WhatsApp lines, and we do have toll-free lines as well, so that our clientele, the workers, employers, job seekers, are able to reach us by any of these numbers. So if you visit www.mlss.gov.jm, you will have an opportunity to see all the contact numbers for WhatsApp and also the social media angles that can be used to get to the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
The Ministry of Labor and Social Security recently launched their new, not only the labor market app, but also the website in recent years, and it is very user-friendly. So all you have to do is log on, as she said, mlss.gov.jm, and you can navigate your way from there. Ms. Corrodus.
And on our website, you'll also find labor market information for workers that are looking for second careers or just looking for information on how to upskill to be relevant, to ensure that their talent is relevant moving forward for different industries. And also employers can get information about the skill sets that are available. Employers can also select or recruit from our website, because we do have an LMIS app that employers and workers can sign up, posting their vacancies or posting their resumes. There's a skill matching that happens, and persons can seek their employment through the LMIS app and website. So we do have quite a robust application that is available to many.
All right, we'll talk a little bit.
You want to hear what else we're doing for Workers' Week?
Right, because we're getting a lot of questions about the LMIS and about workers' rights. And so I want us to wrap up Workers' Week activities, and then we can take some of the questions.
Oh, certainly. All right. So as I indicated, we are going to be having this virtual webinar as part of our Labor Talk series. And the theme, as I indicated, is advancing flexible work arrangements. We will have on the panel Mr. Wayne Chen, and he is president of the Caribbean Employers Federation. We also have Mrs. Helene Davis-White, and she is president of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, the umbrella organization representing trade unions. We also have Ms. Carla Ann Harris-Roper, an attorney that has served for a very long time in labor relations. We have Mr. Lauren Marsh, who is the acting director of the Hugh Shearer Labor Studies Institute at the University of the West Indies. And we also have Michael Ann Ewart, and she's from the Jamaica Productivity Center. She's the Senior Director, Research and Management from the Jamaica Productivity Center. So it promises to give quite a bit of information, and I omitted to say that I will be moderating that session.
All right, looking forward to that. Now let's move to May 23, the day before Labor Day is to be celebrated.
Yes, so May 23, we're going to be having a church service. And this church service will be in Manchester. It will be virtual, and persons are asked to join us on this church service. It will be at the Church of God in Manchester, Mandeville. However, you can join us by Facebook, GIS, of course, and join through the Facebook pages of either the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, or the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
All right. Now, we also have Labor Day on the 24th. It's going to be observed on the 24th, as you explained earlier. No, we are not having a National Labor Day project because it's a no movement day, because the Prime Minister says we must turn our yard, right? Give us some examples of what persons can do on that day to mark Labor Day.
So on that day, as we turn our yard, and we are looking at laboring in a way that is different, we recognize that persons may want to do very creative things. And what are some of these creative things that persons may want to do? For instance, we have been having online school, and perhaps it is a way to reach out in another way to persons who are in online school, giving some kinds of coaching, mentoring of our youngsters, because Labor Day is about giving back service, giving to those that are in need of our service. And therefore, we should give something back to the youngsters that are with us.
So it's definitely not a day to say, boy,
it's not a day to say, boy, no.
So make a lie down and I'm a bed.
It's not to lay down and to not do anything.
All
so
right.
We encourage everybody to find an activity that recognizes the reason for the day, to give service in whatever capacity. We know that there are church groups that will be joining to do their activities, just surrounding the whole theme of Labor Day. And that certainly we expect civil groups to give their own contributions, and we do it and share it through social media, of course.
All right.
On Labor Day, as they say in Jamaica, and we give our service from home.
Tanawiyad, and we give our service from home.
Primarily.
On Labor Day, there will also be floral tributes to be laid at the shrine of the Right Excellent Samuel Sharp. And of course, that's going to be at National Heroes Park. Talk about what other activities. There are 2 more activities on that day. How could I forget Sam Sharp Square? There's going to be another wreath laying.
Yes, and that is in Montego Bay.
Right. So
we recognize that a lot of persons forget the contribution of Sam Sharp. And for many years, we've always had the wreath laying at Sam Sharp Square. So this year, it is going to be no different. Yes, we can't gather at Sam Sharp Square, but we hope that you'll be able to gather with us as we have these streamed on social media platforms.
All right. And of course, there will also be an event to salute our everyday heroes, the people who have been at the front of the fight against this dreaded pandemic, our frontline workers.
That's correct. So recognizing our frontline workers, we have to look at what it is that this sacrifice means to us as a country. How do we, in our own special way, give back to our frontline workers? And when we say frontline workers, the definition of frontline work has changed significantly.
It has.
Even the persons who are in charge of public sanitation are very important frontline workers to us. Our drivers of the public transportation, or taximen and women, and also our drivers of buses, trucks, even those persons who are delivery persons these days have become very essential to us. And we will never forget that, especially in this pandemic, our health workers. And this Labor Day, we want to recognize them in very special ways and to give service that will assist them as they help us on the front line.
And to wrap things up, there will be a virtual concert that will be aired on television. Do you have any hints? You want to tell us who's going to be on the show, or it's all a surprise?
Well, the surprise is what makes it even extra special.
Yes, I love it. All right, let's
and
Facebook.
I can say safely that we have never been disappointed by the performances in our Labor Day. We have always had a very vibrant Labor Day concert, and this year will be no different. We will be streamed live, and certainly persons will be happy to have joined us on this, our virtual concert. I
think people are getting the hang of virtual concerts.
Because the COVID-19 has taught us even to entertain in a different way.
It has. It has.
And I'm overwhelmed to see that as Jamaicans, we have recognized that this shift is real and persons have really subscribed to this physical distancing. And while physical distance, we have not been socially distant. And therefore, this concert will be one that is well received. And we want to thank all our performing publics for making this a reality.
Oh, right.
The Ministry of Culture, or sister ministry, Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, and the JCDC in particular, has done a lot of work in making this a reality.
All right. Thank you so very much, Ms. Corrodus. So that is on Labor Day, May 24. Make sure you tune in because it's going to be lit. Unfortunately, we cannot be in the park, so you just have to turn on your camera and dance, right?
Exactly. Turn on your camera and have a good time.
Have a good time.
People know how to have a good time. And what it does, being virtual, is to open our concert to the world.
It does.
This concert is not going to be just for us here in Jamaica. Please encourage the persons in the diaspora or relatives and friends to join us this Labor Day, in our concert.
All right, everybody, that is an open invitation. Come on over. Let's take some of the comments and questions from Facebook. All right, so Nikki Bailey says, I was fired from my job because I wasn't talking to a next coworker. We want to know what kind of redress somebody like Nikki would have. Wilma says, I like that when I hear somebody talking English. All right. Nikki also says, is there a way that the ministry can help somebody to get a job? Nikki, you never hear about the LMIS. You need to download the LMIS app. All right.
Immediately, Nikki, please.
Immediately.
Download the LMIS app, and it can be downloaded on any Android device. And certainly many of us have smartphones. So the Ministry of Labor is now in the palm of your hands.
In the palm of your hands.
In the palm of your hands. And
Really
like Nikki, we encourage all job seekers, to even second career job seekers, to come on board. And we have many partners in employers that post their jobs. We are interviewing online, so you don't even need to leave home to get the next job through the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
You hear that? You don't even have to leave home. Lily Johnson says you can also labor at home, start a backyard garden. And that is, of course, you're welcome, Nikki Bailey. Lily, that's such a beautiful name. You're talking about backyard gardening and your name is Lily? No, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, like Ms. Corrodus was saying, is focusing on planting up, destroying mosquito breeding sites and things like that on Labor Day. So Lily, you are right on the ball, and we will be hearing more about that from the minister, and that's Olivia Grange, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. So we have a lot of that coming in the week to come. Nikki says, agriculturalist and practical nurse. What are you talking about? Is this an addition to the list of frontline workers, Nikki?
Well, I recognize that with the flexible work arrangements, we have a lot of persons who are professionals in their own right, but they have become their own farmers or agriculturalists like Nikki. And certainly on Labor Day, I intend to plant a couple planting suckers. And wherever you are, if you're even in a small housing development or apartment complex, even plant something, even in a little jar. I'm sure you can get a couple tomatoes or whatever it is. So we're encouraging persons, as Nikki said, to become agriculturalists, whichever is the term that you want to use. So plant something. and get yourself at a place where you too can eat what you grow.
Right. And remember, you can find job opportunities on the LMIS app. Chanel says, what's the site I can go on to look for work? It's the app, LMIS. Just go in and type in Labor Market Information System and you will find it. You can also go to mlss.gov.jm and you will see more information about the LMIS.
And Vanessa,
the LMIS app.
That's correct. And Vanessa, I want to return to one of the questions. If I'm not getting along in the workplace with my colleague and there is some kind of disciplinary action, what can I do? And the Ministry of Labor and Social Security has offices island-wide that provides guidance to workers and takes complaints where workers believe that they have been disciplined or given some kind of treatment that they believe is unjustifiable, or if they have been denied any kind of right. And the Ministry of Labor, as you have been saying, is available online and through our website, www.mlss.gov.jm. They'll be able to find all the telephone numbers to reach us, the WhatsApp and social media lines. And just wanted to say that the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is available to both workers and employers. So as an employer, if you're having a challenge, as would have been described, where there is a workplace issue, you're not certain how to deal with it, you're invited to contact the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. We'll be very happy to provide you with labor law guidance that will be very helpful as you continue to maneuver in this workplace and place of work, as we call it, as we work remotely. And we are trying to rise above the challenges presented by this COVID pandemic.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Corrodus. We are almost out of time. Morning, it's afternoon. Good afternoon, Lenny. I see Lenford Salmon saying that the church service is on Sunday, May 23. We were talking about the church service a little earlier.
Yes.
It's at 10 a.m. virtual, of course. It's going to be at the Church of God in Jamaica, in Mandeville, and the sermon will be delivered by Archbishop Kenneth Richards. Right. So we were mentioning the church services that were happening earlier.
That's correct.
It's a good time. I think this is a good time to just review and recap some of the activities. So Sunday, there's going to be an official supplement in the papers.
That's correct.
Tuesday, we have the wreath laying at the Aggie Bernard Memorial in downtown Kingston.
You left out Monday because we do have an article that will be
on Monday.
Papers, right?
Right.
On,
Monday,
labor relations.
and the following Sunday.
That's correct.
Then we have the Industrial Relations webinar under the theme Advancing Flexible Work Arrangements. Then on and then on the Sunday, which is when we have the church service, we're going to be having a lot of church service or several church services, all focused on Labor Day themes and Workers' Week themes. But we will be having a national church service, as Linford says in the chat, and as Ms. Corrodus said before, and that's going to be at the Mandeville Church of God in Jamaica, starting at 10 a.m. And we are going to be looking forward to hearing the message from Archbishop Kenneth Richards. Then on Labor Day,
we invite not just our Jamaican colleagues, but those in diaspora to join us, because this year we're virtual with the church service, giving all Jamaicans an opportunity to join us this Labor Day.
All right. And on Labor Day, that's May 24, we will be having virtual because you are not supposed to be there. You're supposed to turn your yard. It's a no movement day. We're going to be having virtual floral tributes to our national hero, Sam Sharp, at the Sam Sharp Square in Montego Bay and at National Heroes Park. And then later on, when you're done laboring at home in your backyard garden, you know, you're going to bathe off, wash off yourself, and prepare for the virtual National Labor Day concert to be aired live. We're going to take a couple more comments and questions from Facebook. Okay, Labor Day concert will be a gospel-centered event. You know, me like to hear that. Very good. All right. Nikki's, okay. Lenford is also saying that this is the Workers' Week church service. Thank you so very much, Lenford Salmon. Nikki Bailey says, my boss breached a contract and I spoke with him about it. And his wife said I should work for my 2 weeks' pay before I can get it. Again, could you just remind us of what kind of, where, first of all, where can somebody like Nikki call to get redress?
Right. Certainly, Nikki wants guidance in terms of how to approach that situation. And she clearly appears to be still employed. So the Ministry of Labor is very interested in preserving relationship. And when you call the Ministry of Labor to seek advice, it's dealt with in a very confidential manner. We give our best advice to all our parish offices. And as we have been indicating, we have a virtual presence where online presence where persons can access our services through the various toll-free numbers. There are numerous toll-free numbers and also numerous WhatsApp numbers that they can reach us. And you can get all that information from our website at mlss.gov.jm. So we encourage Nikki and anybody having that kind of workplace-related problem to contact the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. We'll be most happy to give labor law guidance and just general industrial relations guidance to her as a worker. And also in the event that an employer wants such advice, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security also stands ready to give this advice. And we also do mediation if the need arises. And this kind of mediation is not a formal report of an industrial dispute, but just simply helping the parties to come to what we call an amicable settlement of disputes. And I want to say to you that this year, we are seeing more people coming for that kind of service. And in 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic started, we recognized that we were having somewhere in the region of 70% of our persons or employers and workers contacting us by these virtual means. And we want to encourage both workers and employers to, while physically distant, still stay in touch with the Ministry of Labor through the different media that we have online, and that we are able to solve and settle some of these disputes. Conciliation, we had more than 60% of our disputes being resolved amicably. So it appears that persons are becoming more aware of the services that can be accessed through the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. And we encourage even more persons to use our services as they look to greater efficiency in the workplace, greater productivity in the workplace.
All right. Thank you so very much, Ms. Corrodus. It's now time for us to wrap. Thank you so very much for joining, for commenting, for sending your questions. Thank you so very much for making this a lively discussion. And it's not just me and Ms. Corrodus here sitting down.
Yes.
Remember,
thank you all.
If you sent in a question and you did not hear the answer, just repeat it, and we'll be going through again to look for all those unanswered questions, and we will be putting them to our partners at the Ministry of Labor and Social Security so that we can get information for you. If not, you can always call them at 876-922-9500, and that 9500 is the last 200. It goes all the way up to 14. So 922-9501, 922-9502, 922-9514. All right, all the way up to 14. Thank you so much.
And don't forget our social media presence.
Social media.
All of those handles are available through our website. We have all of them listed.
All right. And the website again is mlss.gov.jm. Remember, audience, you play an important part in our show. So if there's somebody that you'd like to see in studio, send us an email at radio@jis.gov.jm. Let us know on social media, and we will be sure to link them and have them in studio. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, social media. Send us an email. All right. I hear a little bit of bleeding in. All right, good. So the audience can hear me now. I'm your host, Vanessa Silvera, and remember the theme for Workers Week is safeguarding the labor force amidst COVID-19, which is different from the Labor Day theme. Did I say that was a Labor Day theme? Let's go again.
No, you said that was the Workers' Week theme.
Okay, just checking. Workers' Week theme is safeguarding the labor force amidst COVID-19. The Labor Day theme, as announced by the Culture Minister Olivia Grange in Parliament on Wednesday, promoting a clean and healthy environment with the slogan, stay home, stay safe, clean up your space. Thank you so very much for joining us, and do have a great Thursday afternoon. All right, Ms. Corrodus, take us away. Is there anything you'd like to add as we wrap?
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Just want to add that this year, Workers' Week and Labor Day, we're encouraging all workers and employers to stay home, stay safe, safeguard our labor force. So I've combined the themes, and certainly we encourage persons to recognize that workers are essential ingredients for productivity and for the growth and sustainable development of Jamaica.
All right. Thank you so very much. Have a great day.